These numbers also vary by region. Rural Crime Prevention Association are the eyes and ears in our communities. We maintain healthy relationships with law enforcement agencies and work to reduce crime in our communities by providing education and crime prevention programs. The Stony Plain District Crime Prevention Association has organized this forum to provide a platform for candidates to answer questions regarding rural crime and hear what legislation their party proposes to support law enforcement in the criminal justice system. Tonight I'd like to introduce Corporal Kunin Sandback from the Heartland RCMP. He works with our crime watch groups, attends meetings, and we coordinate many educational systems with him. I'll have Corporal Kunin come up in a few minutes. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the candidates for this evening. I'd like to start by introducing Mr. Tyler Beauchamp. He's with the People's Party of Canada. Tyler. I'd like to introduce Ernest Chauvet. He's the member running for the Christian Heritage Party of Canada. Mr. Dane Lloyd. He's our member of Parliament from Sturgeon River Parkland from the Conservative Party of Canada. And I'd like to introduce Cass Romaine from the Green Party of Canada. I'd like to welcome the candidates and thank them for taking time out of their busy schedules to be with us tonight. We thank you for your desire to serve and wish you all well on election day. I would now like to invite Corporal Zandak to say a few words.
Thank you, Robert. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So, crime is usually at the forefront of many discussions. Margo is correct in terms of the number of officers per Canadians, and it does fluctuate from year to year depending on what's happening. One of the things that we do on my side of things is to attend community meetings and crime watch groups, citizens on patrol groups, victim services, and give us an idea of what's happening within the community. Naturally, the types of things that happen fluctuates, and I see there are some people here that I've spoken to in the past, which is good to see. But overall, it comes down to, and obviously budgets can affect how we deliver that service, and the end results. Ultimately, policing is just one side of what we do. The rest of what happens to a person that's charged is up to the courts, and that could be a different ballgame altogether or something. So I won't carry on too long. There's a bunch of questions from what I understand, and I'll let everything proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce your moderator for this evening, Michael Hennig. Michael will keep the forum on target and ensure that all the candidates have adequate time to answer the questions that are provided to them. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Growing up 4 miles west of here on a farm, it is my honor and privilege to serve as your moderator for this forum. The candidates have already been determined, they've already determined their speaking order, been instructed on the agenda, timing, and decorum. To run for any political office requires a commitment to serve, oftentimes with financial and personal sacrifice. Therefore, they deserve our utmost respect by allowing them to speak uninterrupted. The formal part of this forum will begin with a 2-minute opportunity for each candidate to introduce themselves and their party. This will be followed by 12 questions that are meant to address the following areas of concern for the Sturgeon River Parkland constituency: rural crime in general, repeat offenders, penalty for rural crime, use of technology to combat rural crime, self-defense challenges and concerns, police resources, funding and emergency responders, rehabilitation and treatment programs, and of course, very important, victim impact and support. Each candidate will be given at least 1 minute to respond to each question. After all questions have been answered by the candidate, each candidate will have an opportunity to provide 1 minute of closing remarks at the end of the evening. At that time, the formal part of the forum will end, and we understand that after the forum is over, the candidates will be hanging around so that if you want to speak to them individually or ask a personal question, you have that opportunity to do it at that time. We are planning on having, hopefully, about a 10-minute break around the 8 p.m. mark to give the candidates maybe a break to go use the facilities or grab a coffee, and also gives you, the audience, an opportunity to take a break as well. We have a lot of material to get through, so therefore I ask you to hold your applause until the end of the forum. So now I would like to start with the opening comments for the candidates. Our first candidate to introduce themselves will be Dave Roy of the Conservative Party.
Well, hi everyone. I get excited every time. This is my first debate, but I get excited every time I get up here because it's such a privilege and an opportunity to get to come before you and to talk about the issues of importance to our communities. And I want to thank Marwood, Ron, and Michael for helping organize this debate, our local Crime Watch organizations, and all the candidates who showed up tonight. My name is Dane Lloyd. I'm your Conservative candidate and current member of Parliament here in Sturgeon River Parkland. 2 years ago, I was elected in a by-election to succeed the Honorable Ron Ambrose, who did a wonderful job of representing this community. And 2 years ago, 2 years and several months ago, I was on base in New Brunswick, Beauchamp, completing my platoon commander training to be an officer in the Canadian Armed Forces. And when I heard that Ron Ambrose was resigning, I said to myself, for years, I have been wanting to come home to represent this community where I grew up, and I couldn't pass up that opportunity. In fact, my family farms just one range road over on 273, and they're potato farmers. My aunt's here tonight. Very glad to see you here supporting me. And you know, growing up in this area, rural crime has been always part of our lives. But over these past few years, the level of intensity and the brazenness of these crimes, it truly defies, you know, like it's beyond what we're used to. And we need action, and we need plans to solve this crucial problem. So I'm here tonight with our candidates, and we're going to talk about a lot of solutions. I'm going to talk about, you know, what we've been doing as Conservatives to stand up for our rural landowners. And I'm hoping to be re-elected as your member of Parliament on October 21st, so that I can go back to Ottawa and and stand up for our rural regions and get the laws passed so that we can defend ourselves on our own properties across this Grand Rapids District. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Our next speaker to introduce themselves is Ernest Chadet from the Christian Heritage Party. Ernest.
It's a disadvantage of being tall sometimes, and with the mics we have to adjust. I was born in Legal. My family's been Legal since 1903, and I still reside on part of the family farm. I would like to take a moment to introduce my wife, Loretta, who's in the back. Together we have 9 children, 34 grandchildren, 3.5 great-grandchildren. So you can tell that we are part of a full life political group. A little bit of my own background. Through university, I wanted a job that would be pleasant, and I was looking for the sweetest job I could find, and I wanted to work with females. So I decided to, during my university years, I paid it through beekeeping. It was sweet, the business got sticky sometimes, but you paid me my way through university, got my teaching degree. So therefore, my background is teaching. Through that degree, farming, beekeeping. I've also spent 15 years to work with young people to form them into leadership, and went through about 1,000 students. Part of that work, job at that time, between that and teaching, is understanding roots to behaviors, where people act in different ways, and how the roots, how that's important to address those. My wife also was in charge of a treatment center in Kelowna, a men's treatment center for 2 years for people with drug and alcohol abuse, and she had firsthand what works and what does not work in the rehabilitation programs. So it's that kind of program I come to you, and that background I come and share with you this evening. The challenges of crime are difficult. It's a mixture between having clear directives and consequences to action, but also have effective rehabilitation programs in place.
Thank you. The next speaker to introduce themselves is Cass Roman of the Green Party.
Thank you for the introduction, Michael. Good evening, everyone. My name is Cass Romain, and I am your Green Party candidate. I'm a wife and homemaker, just your average Canadian living locally, and I probably, like many of you, have been the victim of crime in the past. We need to examine why people living in Canada are offending, risking criminal charges for the sake of the offense in 2019. Some of our current legislation unfairly criminalizes far too many members of visible minority groups and people suffering from addiction, mental illness, and homelessness, while other legislation enables far too many accused people to go free due to procedural delays. There is a major imbalance in our current justice system, which is only worsening due to economic disparity, inequality, and a lack of social and health supports. We also need to review and improve the current funding structure of our rural law enforcement services, permitting more effective enforcement. Our party's solutions to these issues include improving access and quality of healthcare, including mental health and addiction, ending poverty through a guaranteed livable income program, and providing safe and affordable housing, along with universal child care and providing support for seniors and veterans, focusing on food security, promoting gender equality and LGBTQ+ rights, and protecting minority language rights, establishing a federal tax reform, analyzing the system for fairness and accessibility, eliminating mandatory minimum sentences, enabling the courts to determine appropriate sentences based on individual circumstances, reinvesting in prisoner rehabilitation and preparation for reintegration in society, and eliminating solitary confinement, along with many other initiatives which can be found in our platform online. We need a better strategy, involving improvements to social services and healthcare and more efficient funding. I developed my campaign platform based on the concerns local voters expressed to me, and if elected as your member of parliament, they will be my focus over the next 4 years, along with any other concerns you share. Thank you.
Thank you, Cass. And our final speaker to introduce himself will be Tyler Beauchamp from the PPC Party.
Hi everybody, my name is Tyler Beauchamp, and although I dress the part, I'm not a professional politician like the rest of the candidates in this room. I'm actually an oil field consultant. My background is in occupational health and safety in the oil and gas sector. As with many Albertans, back in 2015, I suffered due to the loss of our oil market, ended up losing my business, losing my family home, and my wife and family actually had to move into a rental property just to sustain ourselves and rebuild. Running for office, as I've lost faith in our current government. After 152 years of two parties running this country, it's time for a change. I believe in the People's Party of Canada and the values of freedom, personal responsibility, fairness, and respect. I also believe in the platforms that we have. Our platforms have been shaped by, I guess, largely due to Preston Manning and the Reform Party. I'm sure a lot of people in this room remember that person. And I believe that the People's Party is the only party willing to stand up for Canadians and their values. Our platform is largely geared towards reducing taxes, ensuring pipelines are built, making life more affordable for Albertans and Canadians as a whole. We want to abolish the carbon tax, stand up for freedom of expression, so I have the opportunity today to speak where we are. You guys would have saw the debate last night if you were watching. We saw other members that were disappointed that my party was actually allowed to speak, and that is our right as Canadians, and that is why we're fighting so hard for freedom of expression. I also do believe that law enforcement is very, very important. My sister is a peace officer at the Edmonton Arena. My family is a long line of Army men from actually Gagetown in New Brunswick, where Mr. Dane was serving. Yeah, I think that's all about that I have. Red light's on. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. The People's Party of Canada. Now we're going to go into a round of questions. All this is going to happen is actually because Tyler spoke last in his self-introduction, he will answer the first question first, and then we'll just go down to the left and across. So the person, Bruce, who's is going to do his best to try to look after the microphone system. That's how it will happen. So the last person to answer the question will be the first person to answer the next question. So that's how the rotation is going to go, okay? So Tyler, pardon me? His mic is on, but I hope we don't have any feedback. The question is, and you will have 1.5 minutes to answer this question. Every candidate will. What does your party feel are the main causes of rural crime? What does your party feel are the main causes of rural crime? Tyler. Should be.
Really loud, I'm good. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so real crime. It's on the rise for a few reasons. I know for me personally, it's due to the fact that the Alberta unemployment rate is currently at 7.25%, which is absolutely ludicrous. semi-abuse. This has made people desperate, which always leads to increased crime. You know, I know what it was like in 2015 when I lost everything. I was right on that same cusp as everyone else of what do you do when you can't pay your own bills, when you can't provide for your own family. When people are at work and they can't provide for their family and they lose everything, the stress load leads to substance abuse. Substance abuse, again, leads to crime. Now you need to fix. So what are you going to do to be able to pay for your substances? I know people like to target rural areas, and that is mainly due to the fact that rural areas are old world. I'm from a small town in eastern Canada. I know I never locked the door. We left keys in our trucks and our driveways. It didn't matter. And I think that's what's happening right now is people are targeting the rural communities because they believe that people out here are doing the same thing. Your front door's unlocked. So we need to change our ways and educate everybody and then crack down on the criminals.
I thought we were going the opposite order that we did. Yeah, so, my comments are going to largely echo what Tyler's comments are. I mean, we've seen a significant surge in rural crime since 2014, the downturn of the economy. What I've seen in Ottawa, we did a rural crime report, the Conservative MPs in Alberta and some in Saskatchewan. We actually consulted with local crime watch organizations, and it's clear that this is actually an issue that seems to be confined to Western Canada. And so we need to look within Alberta, Northern BC, and Saskatchewan for what the unique circumstances are. And as Tyler said, those circumstances are related to the downturn of the economy, people needing to feed sometimes their drug addictions, and looking for a quick source of cash to do that. Rural crime is something that happens because our rural areas are less policed, we're further from our neighbors, and in many cases we're less secure than urban areas because we do have a way of life where we leave keys in our vehicles, we leave our doors unlocked, we're not often at home, and so it's prime target for people from urban areas to come out to rural areas. And criminals are taking advantage of this vulnerability, and we need to address these vulnerabilities through a combination of legislation, the commitment of additional resources to rural areas, and also cultural change. And that cultural change starts with all of us in here trying to find ways to harden the security in our local areas.
So I think the Green Party generally feels that the main causes of rural crime are economic disparity, as a lot of the other candidates have alluded to, as well as lack of adequate mental health care, lack of adequate social security nets, a decreased sense of community, as well as low presence of law enforcement or inadequate police response times. And honestly, we really need to focus on the structure of funding for our rural police to provide adequate law enforcement to not only just the urban centers, but also rurally as well. These are all issues that the Green Party Canada takes very seriously, and we've developed numerous solutions within our
The major cause of rural crime probably related to drug and alcohol related challenges. And from there, just those habits that people do everything they can to feed those habits. The secondary cause would be mental illness, people who are mentally not stable or schizophrenic for different causes, and mental disorder can also be used by home situations. And the third one would be poverty, but poverty actually, from the poverty moving to the, not so much for money to survive, but more money to support drugs. So it's kind of the third one, which leads people into drugs, and from that drugs, then you have the crime going to support what's existing.
Thank you, Ernest. The next question will be 1 minute for the answer. And Ernest will be the first to answer that question. Bill S-217, known as Lynn's Law, aimed at altering the wording of the criminal code to make it mandatory for a prosecutor to disclose a suspect's criminal history during the bail application, was defeated by the House of Commons. Question is, why was this nonpartisan legislation defeated in its current form, and what changes do you propose to resurrect this bill? Ernest.
I can't speak why it was defeated, but I would say one thing that has to be changed is people looking to be on bail, their past should be released before they go on bail. The positive things they've done can also be recorded, but to have an honest judgment, an honest decision on what should be done about the bail request, we need all the information on the table, and not putting the background and the history of that person makes the bail so much less effective.
I can speak a little bit on this. So Lynn Law, it was defeated in its third reading. Now, this was largely due to our current government. They didn't want to see an increase in processing times for bail. Right now, the current system, they can get through 5 to 10 people a day. By introducing this bill, it would reduce that to 2 or 3 people. Now, I believe the transparency is important when deciding if an individual is eligible for bail. And I do believe this bill needs to be reviewed in full for its wording. Make sure that it's appropriate and does not violate or contradict any other processes. The same committee needs to evaluate funding of our justice system to ensure its adequate funding is in place to enable adequate resources to speed up our court processes. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, so I feel somewhat qualified to speak on this because I was working on the legislative team under MP Michael Cooper before I was elected, and he was the MP from St. Albert who brought forward this law due to the tragic circumstances of Constable David Wynn, who was shot and killed at the Apex Casino in St. Albert by a man who was on bail and had several warrants out for his arrest. And I think our team did an excellent job of getting this legislation forward. In Parliament, we actually put it through the Senate first, and it passed all readings of the Senate under the leadership of Conservative Senator Bob Runciman, who did an excellent job of steering this through committee. Upon reaching the House of Commons, it became clear to us that the entire Justice Department under the Liberals was dead set against this bill. Minister Wilson-Raybould stated publicly that she did not want this bill to move forward. Together with Michael Cooper, I organized meetings with every Liberal member of Parliament and NDP member of Parliament that we could get a handle on. We met with all of them. And I'm very proud to say that at second reading, our nonpartisan work in reaching out to other parties enabled us to get so much of their support at second reading. Unfortunately, it was killed in committee because the Crown Prosecutors Association came forward and they didn't want their discretion to be messed with a piece of legislation. And frankly, I know Michael Cooper will be reintroducing this legislation, and I fully intend to support this legislation.
Firstly, I'd like to offer my condolences to Mr. Wynn's family. Law enforcement is an extremely dangerous job. However, such a tragedy should have never occurred in our system. Bill S-217 seems to have been defeated due to its likeliness of creating a longer bail process, possibly involving more evidence being required, leading to it being potentially more difficult to detain an accused person than under our current criminal code. As far as I'm aware, the accused's prior record is quite often already considered under both primary and secondary grounds for detention, as well as at multiple points during the bail process. However, some prosecutors do not bring up former convictions, and there should be consistency here. After considering the proposed changes in the bill, I would support it on the grounds that we do more to improve rehabilitation and mental support to detainees and prisoners. Mental health is something that seems to be misunderstood in present-day society, and it's failing our system in more ways than one.
Thank you, Cass. And Cass will be the first to answer the next question. This is based on a sort of a statistic that a disproportionately small amount of offenders are responsible for a disproportionately large amount of crime. So what is your party's stand on repeat offenders?
Again, we need to improve rehabilitation and mental health. It's unfair to punish someone without rehabilitation, which we cannot do adequately at this point, without improving our understanding of mental health. We need to examine the roots of the issue instead of attempting to reconcile the symptoms. That being said, prior charges should be taken into account, with courts deciding appropriate sentences accordingly.
The party's position is very clearly that as people repeat, the consequences should go up. And we, as a teacher, we do that with the students. They do repeat something again, next time you do it, the consequences is up and keep it going up. So the same thing happens with repeat offenders. This does not mean that there should not be offered a rehabilitation program if they haven't been offered yet. I'm going to try to get to the root of that. But bottom line, repeat offenders, the consequences should be increasing.
For the People's Party, I know my leader, Maxime Bernier, believes in stricter sentencing. Me personally, when it comes to repeat offenders, I believe they should be punished to the full extent of our laws. Our system is really, really broken. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, that's the way we put it. I've seen people that have been charged with criminal negligence causing bodily harm and were released the exact same day and put back on the streets. Their trial period took 3 years until they were actually found guilty. By that point, they served 2 weeks of remand and were released on those exact same charges. You know, they could have easily, over that 3-year period of time, went back out in the public and harmed somebody, and there should be zero tolerance for that.
So, I think, Cass brings up an excellent point about mental health. But I think it should be said that mental health is already considered at sentencing. And if somebody is suffering from a severe mental illness, their sentence is reflected. It reflects the fact that they are mentally ill. But we also need to look at the fact that when a repeat offender is offending, they don't seem to be getting the message. And if prison time is not a deterrent in its current form, then we need to look at exponentially increasing that prison time every time they reoffend. So if they go to jail for 2 years for the first offense, and they do it again, then it should be going up to 4 years, and then 8 years. And so they get the message that the more they reoffend, the higher the penalty will be. I do support services for people in prisons, because, oftentimes if they need to get skills, jobs training, if they need to get addictions help, they should be absolutely helped. That should be a priority. But some people, they just laughing at our justice system, and they need to face the exponential increases and those penalties.
Thank you, Dane. Dane will be the first to answer the next question. Often, 3 risk factors have been associated with recidivism, which it basically means the chance of repeating the same offense over again. Prior criminal history, lifestyle instability, unemployment, frequent moves, and negative peer associations. Old methods of integrating an offender into society doesn't seem to be working. The model of social impact bonds is having a greater success in providing financial and social supports for an offender to successfully integrate back into society, and has reduced recidivism rates. 4 provinces have trial SBI programs in place. Will your party provide funding to assist in the SBI programs creations in all the provinces and territories? Explain your party's position. Timers, it's 1.5 minutes for this question, please.
Well, thank you, Michael. And you forced me to break up the Google machine over these social impact bonds. I'd never heard of it before. So I did a bunch of research. There was a pilot project in Great Britain at Peterborough, Her Majesty's Prison in Peterborough, and a number of provinces have brought this forward. I was researching the parliamentary budget report, and the average inmate in Canada costs taxpayers $114,000. In a minimum security, it's $47,000 per year per person, and in segregated incarceration, it's up to $450,000 per year. And so with those kind of exponentially increasing costs, We need to be looking at innovative new ways to reduce the burden on taxpayers by not only ensuring that our prisons can be more affordable, but that people will not be reoffending. So I think that the social impact bonds in general can have a significant impact on that, because if we pay an investor to invest in services for prisoners who have been released and they're on parole, and those services can effectively prevent them from reoffending, if we see a significant drop in reoffending, the taxpayers are going to be saving. So why shouldn't these investors benefit from investing in those social impact bonds if taxpayers are going to save significant amounts? So absolutely, I do support social impact bonds.
So out of those 3 risk factors, I can definitely speak to lifestyle instability. I know that the Green Party is really pushing for a better social plan, guaranteed livable income, which would help a lot of people. And I believe that a lot of criminals perform crimes out of necessity. So the guaranteed livable income, as well as numerous other social supports we're offering, would help prevent the need for someone to, in fact, break the law. And the other thing is negative peer associations. Another thing we want to do is help build and improve social ties in our communities. So with better social programming, it would be less of a hanging out with the wrong crowd, less of being bored, and just less crime in general. Now, social impact bonds were developed, as Dane mentioned, in the UK and work really well for certain offenders. Our party doesn't have a specific position in our platform regarding social impact bonds, but I would say that we would support them because the evidence so far shows that they work, and the Green Party usually supports initiatives proven to work elsewhere.
I think I would lead, I'd like to hear from my wife's experience working in a treatment center. In the treatment center, the first process is detoxation, and they had to go through a program, and that program would look at the roots of their behaviors, what's the cause, and also realizing that if they continue in their pattern, the consequences and the impact on their families. There's a period of time for that in each different stages, but it's actually quite intense. And of course, the second stage is very much to the AA program that you see. From then on, they moved into, they can start having a certain amount of leaving the property to more extent and slowly integrate into the workforce. And then the workforce and the peer aspect that in the case of Freedom Store in Kelowna, that they stay in a group in a residence, which they come back into fellow people trying to deal with the effect of the drugs or alcohol that they're dealing with. So as they're fighting to get back into society and live a clean life, there's an ongoing support of the program to support that. The sad thing with this, which is also very effective, not 100% effective, but very effective, there's very little funding. There's just limited funding for those kinds of places available. There's one in Calgary, I don't know if there's one in Edmonton, there's just a few other ones in BC, and they have to find their own funding. If you look into the cost of having people in jail, as Dave presented, it'd be way cheaper to subsidize and to help those treatment centers so that people come down to the roots of their behaviors, the consequences of their behaviors on their loved ones, than to just do other needs that are presented. So it's kind of a holistic, but we have to deal with that kind of a route to solve.
I can't speak on behalf of my party on the views on the social impact bonds. Due to our recent debates, I was unable to reach anyone at HQ to ask this question. I did, like Dane, did some research on the SBI programs, and the only challenge I have with it is that the private funding of the program dictates the program. So they choose what level of funding they present, what programs are on the table, how far you go with it to meet their targets, and then they're reimbursed if they meet those targets. So there's no real control over these private investors. So I believe we should have a national program that is standardized across the board. Every province should be the same because these programs are effective. But again, it does need to be controlled by either provincial government or federal.
Thank you, Ted. We're going to move into another group of questions relating to increasing the penalty for rural crime and also the area of new technology. So, Tyler will be the one to answer this question first. What would you, your party, do to increase sentences for those who target Canadians in remote areas where geographically there is slower police response time, especially if that offense is a violent crime?
For this question, it kind of highlights two issues for me. So the first being police response times. Now, the provincial government under the UPC and Jason Kenney should be assessing all of our rural areas and ensuring there's adequate response time by the RCP. Now, the second issue that was addressed in the question is our justice system and the fact that it's currently a revolving door process. So as soon as you get arrested, you're going down there, they're releasing you immediately, you're coming back out to these areas and causing more crime. I do believe both issues need to be addressed, and I am willing to work with all governing bodies to ensure the change is implemented. We can't continue to allow violent criminals to be released to await trial once they're convicted, and all sentences must be strict. These 6 months terms just don't work for what they're doing. They're going to come and be violent in rural communities. We've got to be able to defend ourselves, and when we catch them, lock them up for a long period of time, that they feel the consequences to their actions.
So, I mean, it's a fundamental principle of justice that, justice is proportional to the crime. And so, although crimes in rural areas are significant and they're more widespread than what we're seeing in the urban areas, I think the sentences should be consistent based on what the crime is, not based upon where the crime is committed. However, what we do need to do is we need to emphasize the needs of our rural areas to have more police resources. And whether or not we're utilizing peace officers, reserve RCMP officers, and new technologies, we need to be making those investments so that we can protect our rural areas. And it's fundamental as well. I think that a number of our sentences are much too lenient. We're seeing people get off of crimes because the justice system is taking far too long to prosecute these people and then to convict these people. And we have to put more resources into this, because I don't want to see another killer who managed to get their case delayed by 3 years just be released because of a technicality, and we can't have that happen.
I personally would like to improve funding to our law enforcement, to improve response times through more officers, more dispatches, and improved practices, which would likely involve analysis and restructuring of the current funding of our rural law enforcement. Greens would also like to impose numerous social services that I've already mentioned and benefits to low-income Canadians, which, along with improved mental health care and care for addiction, we presume to see a decrease in crime even rurally. We'd also hope through our policies and plans to create a stronger sense of community again.
There's always a challenge between cost and response. I think number one is in the area of technology. The use of videos, I think, would be a great assistance in both reducing crime, because people will be videotaped, and providing police with necessary tools to deal with, to convict people. Force could be done, in Nagal, last week, people came in and stole the ATV machine from the credit union. So they can go into a town and steal an ATV machine to try to control enough police force to control every rural area. It's pretty difficult. But the use of videos, cameras is a simple method. It's cost effective compared to a whole bunch of more people, and I think it will help resolve and reduce crime in the rural areas.
Thank you. The next question, actually, this question really relates to the new technology, and you probably heard in a number of places where using DNA from ancestry databases to actually find a criminal. So what is your party's platform on allowing police access to genealogy databases that use DNA and other means to link crimes? Ernest?
I've always been an advocate that if you do nothing wrong, you can verify you as long as they want. So in that sense, to the use of DNA, I don't object to that. The challenge with using DNA to help solve crime is it's still not 100% proof. I think it's an orientation, a direction, but not as like it just convict on its own. It's just going to lead to finding the person's guilty.
My party doesn't actually have a specific stance on DNA and genealogy databases. However, me myself, I believe law enforcement should have full access to these softwares. The only challenge we have is our own protection of our privacy under our own laws. So I do believe that any database they wish to use needs to be vetted for accuracy. Who knows if I say I'm John Smith when I submit to, say, family tree to find out some information. So unless there's a way they can verify that the people actually submitting these samples are those people, it's a real struggle. So there's a lot of research to be done, but I would be more than happy to work with local law enforcement to come up with a bill for all of that.
So I was very pleased to read the news recently, and that's when I discovered that this was being used, that the Golden State Killer, a notorious serial killer in California, was caught. And it wasn't because the Golden State Killer was stupid enough to provide his own DNA. It was because a cousin of his provided his DNA, actually quite a distant cousin. So we've seen how, it's not just the actual criminal providing their DNA, it's their families or people that are closely related to them that can help us unlock this case. And I never want to say to a family of victims that we're not going to give every single tool that we can give to law enforcement to solve the crime of your family's murder. And so that means I do support their access to these databases. I think they need to be limited by a warrant, but overall I think they should have access to that. And people willingly give their DNA to these websites. And as long as there's a disclaimer saying, this information may be used for law enforcement, then it's buyer beware. It's, and so if you know that this information could be used, then you're giving that information knowingly and you consent to the consequences of giving that information.
Again, this isn't in our Green Party platform specifically, but I would say that police forces are finding that access to genealogy databases can help investigators to solve crimes, as Dean alluded to. However, the Canadian courts have found that the police must seek court approvals for investigative techniques that infringe on Canadians' privacy rights. And this is certainly an area where the protection of privacy rights is extremely important.
Okay, so we will have one more question before the break. And this one will be first answered by Cass. What are Cass? I'm sorry, it already was answered. So what we're going to do right now, we've gone through 6 questions of the 12. So what I would like to do is give our candidates a break for, I'd say, 10 minutes, okay? That we can stretch our legs, and there's coffee on and some goodies there. So I'll announce reconvene at, I would say, 5 after 8. Thank you.